How's it going, everyone? This is Childhood DVD Fan here. So, before I get into this, I could literally spend hours upon hours upon hours making this video. Literally. Before I even am making this video now, I had an amazing video that I wished it would have worked, that I spent 2 days on, about just Hollywood in general and whatever before, and giving a lot of examples from other former Hollywood stars before the Quiet on Set documentary even came out. Unfortunately, I ran into a lot of technical issues making that video and using my examples and everything like that, because I'm not the greatest editor out there, and it had to be scrapped. And there has been so much that has come out the past week plus since this documentary came out that literally I could sit here for hours and hours and hours talking about this. And who knows, maybe one day, soon or whatever, I can, try to make something like that happen. But I don't even know where to start. And I can tell you right now that there would probably be a lot of stuff that I would forget. A lot of stuff. And that's not fair, obviously. So rather just get the message out of the way now. I'm going to probably forget some important stuff, but I'll try to do this. I'm doing this with no computers in front of me or nothing around me, whatever. This is just straight from the hip. Anyways, Quiet on Set. Where to even begin? Well, first off, Drake, I love you, man, and I'm sorry that you went through that. I had known for quite a while about the abuse Drake went through. It was speculated for many years. Let's just say I talked with somebody who didn't really ever tell me exactly what happened, but gave me an idea of just how much Drake went through. And it was speculated for many years online that it was Brian Peck and that it was Drake Bell who was harmed. And I pretty much knew in my heart that it was, but to actually see him sit on camera for this and tell his story was fucking chilling beyond belief. So yeah, there was a lot discussed in the documentary. So I don't even know where to start. Quite frankly, I'll just get the Dan Schneider out of the stuff, out of the way first. And, obviously he made the apology video and all that. And like I said, I could spend hours and hours and hours covering everything that's happened the past week or so. And I literally, could be here all day doing this. But I haven't really kept up, unfortunately, and I'm a one-man show, so I apologize. I'm probably not going to be able to do that. But anyways, the Dan Schneider stuff, the thing that probably shocked me the most in this documentary was the moment where the female writer in the Amanda show was talking about how they were writing some type of sketch or whatever, and Dan wanted her to bend over and pretend that she was sodomized, as like they were talking about like I don't know what it was. I can't remember off the top of my head, because the Drake stuff in this documentary sticks out way more to me. But the most shocking thing was the female writer of the Amanda show who had to say something, whatever, bent over in the writer's room, because Dan wanted her to act like she was being fucked in the ass or whatever, and say what she had to say. That was probably the most shocking thing to learn from this documentary. There were a lot of things covered. The one thing that is interesting to me, though, in this documentary is that they never really made Dan Schneider out to be a pedophile. Now, who knows, when it comes to that or whatever, but I will say, for many years, there were many rumors, and there still persist rumors online, that Dan did something to Amanda Bynes, that Dan is the quote unquote secret father of Jamie Lynn Spears' oldest daughter, Maddie. This series never really implied that Dan Schneider was a pedophile. Never accused him or anything like that. Um, Obviously, this series focused on other known pedophiles like Jason Michael Handy, who worked on the Amanda Show, Brian Peck, obviously. Somebody else, I can't remember their name, but it was like a little later on after Brian was convicted of doing an act with a child on the set or whatever. So they never really implied that Dan Schneider was a pedophile, but they obviously went into the massages. They went into the workplace toxicity, all the secret jokes. Like Jamie Lynn Spears, like having a cum shot on her face, and then Nose Boy with all that. With penis and testicles on his thing. I mean, all the jokes with Victorious. I would say Victorious probably had the most dark humor jokes, especially when it came to the Ariana Grande stuff. That dark humor wasn't really in Drake and Josh, and it was in Zoe 101 from time to time, but it wasn't like whatever. And then iCarly would be another one that had a lot of that dark humor as well. But iCarly and Victorious were notorious shows for this dark humor. And they never really accused Dan of any of that, so it's hard to say. I mean, and there's reports now that like Amanda Bynes talked to TMZ or people close and said that she was approached to do this documentary, and that they didn't really have anything to say because they say nothing happened to her. I find that hard to believe. I'm sorry, I really find that hard to believe, because as messed up as Drake has been, and we've seen his decline, Amanda Bynes has fallen much further than Drake. And she looks terrible now. She looks like she's been through a war, and that had to have come from Nickelodeon. I'm sorry, it had to have come from Nickelodeon. So I find that very hard to believe. I feel like one day there's got to be something more to come out with Amanda Bynes. But anyways, so watching this was very chilling. It was excruciatingly difficult to sit down and actually record this on my DVR. The Drake stuff was just really tough to get through, but I made a point in that video that I'm so angry never came to fruition, of just how important Drake's involvement in telling his story was, because there are many former child actors who have been through something like this, and they never get a chance to talk on camera. And I mentioned this before in my video that you'll never see because I had to scrap it, but people like Corey Haim never got the chance to sit on camera and talk about how Charlie Sheen molested him on the set of Lucas. Corey Feldman was able to do that years later, telling his story, but Corey Haim never got a chance to open up on camera. Aaron Carter, who I loved, and you guys know for a fact that Aaron Carter is a huge influence on me. He was molested by his two backup German dancers when he was 8 years old, and he never got a chance to tell on camera. And I even showed an example when it came to Corey and Aaron about the abuse and some things, or whatever the case may be. Corey Feldman and Drake Bell are some of those very rare child stars who actually got a chance to sit down on camera and tell their stories. Now, Corey was a little bit more detailed in his documentary, My Truth. And here's the shocking thing about Corey, is that in his documentary, and at the time, I didn't put the pieces together, but in Corey's documentary in 2020, he mentioned Brian Peck. And there's even a clip, of Brian Peck, in this, because they were relating it to the fact that Brian, after his sentence and whatever, worked with Charlie Sheen. and Charlie Sheen was the one who molested Corey Haim on the set of Lucas. And Drake, unfortunately, has met Charlie Sheen before. And I don't know if Drake knows that him and Brian are very close friends, unfortunately. So, sitting down for this and watching this, I kind of knew what was coming, but there were some things even in this that were very shocking. Um, you know, I could try to talk about everyone and, the shocking claims or whatever, but I kind of want to focus more on Drake because that was the main thing that I was watching this documentary for. Um, you know, uh, I'm just glad that Drake finally can put this team into rest as far as um, having this out there for everybody to know about instead of a select few groups. Now, like I said before, I knew about this years before. Not everything, but I had a pretty good idea of what happened to him. And for Drake to be able to at least tell his story on camera forever is priceless. It really is. Because it not only tells his story, but it helps as a precautionary tale to parents who think that they should get their children in the entertainment industry, and especially with some of those people that work on these shows, you better double think how you're going to do this, and you better not leave your child for 1 second. And one thing I want to mention is how fucking amazing Drake's father, Joe Bell, was. He tried his best. He always kept an eye on Drake. He even went to production when he saw that Brian was being inappropriate with Drake, and tried to warn them. And Brian caught wind that Drake's father was catching on to him, so he manipulated Drake and Drake's mother into saying that Joe was his bad father, stealing money, all this stuff, trying to find a way for Drake to get Joe out of the picture so Brian could do whatever he wanted to do to Drake, which he successfully ended up doing. Drake's mother, I think she had a lot of resentment, and there was a lot of, personal trouble with her and Joe, behind the scenes, whatever they were doing with them when they broke up with their marriage. And I think she kind of let that anger and that dictation take over when Joe warned her never let Brian be around Drake. I think she was thinking about the marriage and stuff like that, and she didn't really take his words, because it was coming from him, very seriously about the warning that he clearly gave to Robin, Drake's mother, about never let Brian be alone with Drake when, Drake was switching managers because of Brian's manipulation and all this stuff. And, I could talk about the letters as well. I'll mention quickly, there were two people from Drake and Josh specifically who did these letters. Now, I don't know if they wrote these letters before they both ended up working on season 1 of Drake and Josh or afterwards, but regardless, it's no excuse, especially for one of these two. One of them was Kimmy Robertson. Now, unfortunately, I've had Kimmy Robertson on this channel because she did a video response to me, and I did. And keep in mind, I want to make something very clear. If anybody's going to come bash me for Kimmy Robertson answering questions about her time on Drake and Josh, when I got in contact with Kimmy, these letters that were written in support of Brian Peck were still sealed. I didn't know that Kimmy Robertson wrote a letter in support of Brian Peck. Had I known that, I never would have contacted her. Bottom line, she played Mrs. Galloway on 2 Idiots and a Baby. But the most shocking one was Taron Killam, or however you pronounce his name. Fuck him. He played Trevor on the Doom Buggy episode of Drake and Josh. The thing that really surprises me is Taron worked with Drake on the Amanda Show before Drake and Josh even came around. So the fact, and he knew Drake, so the fact that he would be letting his personal experience with Brian, who was a positive one, dictate so much, even though he worked with Drake, that really is just beyond crazy to me. And that definitely explains why we never saw Tehran on Drake and Josh ever again afterwards. And same thing with Kimmy Robertson, who in turn fucked Larry Thomas over getting a spot of having Mr. Galloway reappear. Um, because Mr. Galloway, Mrs. Galloway, they were a couple in the Two Idiots and a Baby episode. So they had to. There was only like a few other times that Trevor was mentioned, in the series and whatever, but he never came back. The only thing I don't know for sure in the clip of Josh Renton to Oprah, when Drake is talking to Trevor, I don't know if that voice, who's portraying Trevor was really Tehran or if it was someone else. And obviously that would have been after obviously the court situation, so Drake probably never wanted Tehran back on the set. Although I don't know for sure if Kimmy and Tehran were in the courtroom during Drake's thing. I really don't know when Brian Peck had those 50 supporters and 41 of them wrote letters in the courtroom, or whatever the case may be. But I think Drake knew that Tehran supported Brian or whatever the case may be. It's hard to know, because there's just so much. This is such a deep story. So yeah, it was it made me sick to my stomach. But I was so fucking happy for Drake. And the one thing I'll mention to kind of close this out, because I don't want to do this video for too long, is I did a personal post on my personal IG after this all came out, showing it, me with Drake, and then me talking to Drake on my 21st birthday in 2021, February 11th, and then meeting him February 22nd, 2018, and then the picture of him, during this documentary, and kind of writing just like, everything on how I felt after that and how he's influenced me and been my hero, and I'm so sorry for him. And I tagged Drake, and he follows me on Instagram. I tagged him, and then I also put it to my stories, and I tagged him there as well. Drake never liked the post or never commented or anything like that, but he saw a link to the post because of me putting it in my stories with a link to the post. It's hard to explain, but I'm trying to make it a way that makes sense. And Drake hearted that as well, because I said my hero, and tagged him for "You're My Hero," and then tagged to the post from the story. Anyways, so yeah, this was just heartbreaking. But I'm glad that this is finally out there. I'm glad that Drake can hopefully move on. Now, like I said, there are so many things to discuss. We could talk about the Ned's Declassified thing, where they made fun of Drake Bell, specifically Devin Werkheiser and Lindsay Shaw. Fuck them. We could talk about Josh, getting back on Drake's good side, although I think that there's ulterior motives there. We could talk about Angel Massey's supporting a Dan Schneider and blaming the parents after this. We could talk about, what the fuck has happened this past week. It's absolutely mind blowing. We could talk about just about anything, really. I mean, I'm trying to think. There's been so much, and when there's so much, and then nothing comes to mind immediately because there's just a treasure trove of shit. It's just unbelievable. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is definitely not the video that I wanted, to do. I was, because had I been able to successfully do that first video, that would have really helped me out for this a lot. But I never was able to do that because, there were just unfortunately a lot of glitches and stuff like that. So we'll have to leave it alone. Anyways, this has been Childhood DVD Fan. And I'll think about, really getting into everything and really making it like a, I don't know, like a 5-10 part series covering multiple topics, but I just wanted to get something out there to you guys. Anyways, this has been Childhood DVD Fan. Let me know what you think all about this. So long, everyone.